Hello, I'm Pastor Tweeton, and I wanted to take a few minutes today just to offer up some thoughts and regarding the North Dakota congressional race. There is a primary that's taking place, and there are five candidates in the Republican primary, and I wanted to offer an opinion and some thoughts about each candidate. I'm just going to take a few moments, and as I offer them up, this is not an endorsement, but it definitely is going to cause you to think a little bit because I think that people need to think a little bit when they are considering a candidate. So the first person that I'm going to mention is Julie Fedorchak, and she is been involved in the Public Service Commission for about 12 years now. I have not met her personally. I did go to her meet and greet. I have listened to the debates, and I was at the convention in Fargo back in April. And so I believe that Julie Fedorchak is a nice person. I believe she's a very family-oriented person. I believe that she's done a pretty good job in the Public Service Commission, although I'm not tremendously familiar with everything that she has done. But one of the things that I do think is that she's probably not cut out for the mean political battles. And I say that with all kindness. She is another thought that I have is that she is an establishment Republican. When I see the people that are getting behind her campaign in the Republican Party, she is as an establishment Republican. I think that she is possibly going to make a difference in Washington, but she might also be a part of the continuing as is, which is one of the things that frustrates many people today, is it seems like nothing ever gets done. So that's one of the things that I think is important to consider. Now, if she wins the primary, one of the things that I am very fully aware of is that the Democrats are the masters at the politics of personal destruction. And I believe that she will be under fire in a way that she has never experienced before. And so, and I know that this campaign has already been a little bit rough, considering her opponent being Becker and Cara Mund, and they're both interesting characters. Talk about Becker for a moment. Rick Becker has been involved in the conservative movement in North Dakota for quite some time. He has a lot of grassroots conservative support. Now, some of his followers are kind of a cult of personality, and the guy can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. And that's what I've heard from some of the people. Now, this is just being honest, and whether you like what I'm saying or not, that's just fine. I'm okay with that. But he does have a conservative track record, and he has some pretty heavyweight political endorsements that have come in recently. Now, one of the negatives about Rick is he has made some political enemies on the moderate side of the Republicans and the liberals. Now, understandable that you're going to make enemies on the liberals, but with making enemies with some of the people in your own party, that's not probably your best political gamesmanship. So one of the things that is also a negative is I know that after the convention in 2022, Rick Becker said he was done with politics. He also said that he was going to honor the convention's decision. Well, he didn't do that. He entered the race and he ran as an independent against John Hoeven, and he got beat in that race. And then after that race, he said he was done again. Well, here's the two times that he said that, and then he didn't quit. And now, because he couldn't be on the ticket at the convention this year because rules that were in place before he did what he did, he was involved in some of the shenanigans at the convention. And I went to his meet and greet here in Jamestown, and I asked some questions, specific questions. And he gave an answer for them. However, I don't think they were fully satisfying when it comes down to principles and integrity. Now, with that being said, one of the things that he was asked by somebody else at that meeting was, what happens if you lose this primary? And he said, again, I'm done with politics. So 3 times Becker has said he's going to be done, that I'm aware of on record. And so that's something that I think is important to be considered in who you're going to vote for. The next thing that happened was recently he used this Mulvaney video, and then he was on his social media sites. He was very positive and proud of what he did, and now he has this badge of being the number one enemy to the trans movement. Now, I don't agree with the trans movement in any way, shape, or form. I believe in creation, male and female, and that's how what God endorsed and God ordained, and so this whole trans idea, as a pastor, in my estimation, it's an accusation that God made a mistake, and I don't like that at all. So I am definitely not in favor of trans movement, nor would I give a trans person a public platform and pay good conservative dollars to do it. So I think that was a lapse in good judgment. Now, the next candidate I'd like to talk about is Cara Mund. And I've listened to the debates. I know Cara, she was a Miss America, and she did really well there. And so, and I think some people think that she's a very attractive person. She's very talented. I believe she's very smart. She has accomplished some good things in her life. She is a licensed attorney, and that didn't just happen. She's worked hard. She's accomplished some things. She's well educated. However, when it comes to conservative politics, she is very pro-abortion. When I listened to Cara Mund in the debates, one of the things that I observed is that she sounds more like a Democrat than a Republican, but yet she turns around and says she's conservative. Well, listen, I'm not confused about these issues, and I know where I stand, and I've heard all the political platitudes that the Democrats put forth. I have some very liberal uncles, and I have had some very engaging conversations. It's been a long time since I've had those conversations, but nonetheless, I have had some conversations, and I've heard the arguments from the left. So that's what I think about Cara Mund. Although she has a way of communicating that is somewhat, I guess the way that I would put it is she sometimes comes across like the person in the corner trying to get some attention when she's in these political debates, being a liberal trying to present herself as a conservative. That's the way it comes across to me. So anyway, just something to chew on. If you think you're going to vote for Cara Mund, just remember that she's probably not a real Republican. She might actually be the poster child for rhinos. Anyways, that's Republican in name only for those that are politically not in the know. But now the last candidate that I want to make mention of is Alex Balazs. Now, I've listened to all three debates, and my personal opinion is that Alex Balazs has the more substantive answers of anyone from all three debates that I've listened to. He's personable. I've met him personally. He's intelligent. The guy thinks and he reasons. He has a great military service, and he served our country. Now, I know there are some that want to turn around and they want to call him a Fed. Well, the guy worked for our government. He has a track record of doing service. When he took his oath to uphold the Constitution, when he enlisted in our armed services, that was a good thing. And I believe he meant what he said in serving our country. Now, one of the things that you notice is he answers the questions pretty quickly. He answers them with substantive answers that are logical, they're reasonable, and they are knowledgeable of every subject. Now, you may not agree with him, but you cannot take that away from him. The downside is Alex is a newcomer to politics, and so he doesn't have a lot of name recognition. But he did get the nomination coming out of the convention. Now, and you can go back and forth all the arguments you want about because Becker wasn't on there, blah 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 blah. That's a political opinion. Yes, blah 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 is a very, very good political opinion. But here's the reality. Alex Balazs, when you look at these candidates and then you stop and you consider that what is our number one problem right now in America? And I'm going to tell you, my opinion is that border is wide open. And if you have a wide open border and it's just going to be continuing that way, if there's something isn't done, we need somebody that has some experience on the border. And when I've listened to all the different things, one of the greatest positives that I find in Alex Balazs is that he has the knowledge and the experience on that border to go to Washington, to be in those rooms, in those discussions, and say, hey, I've been down there. I know this agency and this agency and this agency, and they want to close the border. We just need to give them what they need to do the job. And Alex is the one, he's the only one of the four candidates that knows that. So in my estimation, the man for the job at this point in history is Alex Balazs. Does it take anything away from those other candidates? No, it doesn't. It's just my opinion, my thoughts, and I think this is reasonable and it's thought out. And I think that he's the man for the job. So anyways, appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. If you don't like what I said, so what? Tomorrow's another day. Bye now.